Sanjay, do you have a copy of his slide with you? Can you share the slides, please?
I don't have first slide. Sir, first open your presentation and then share
Yeah,
the
and
screen, sir.
then share the screen, sir. Just
Yeah.
stop sharing, sir. Open your presentation, then share screen, sir.
Now got.
Slide show.
Sir, now your screen is visible, sir.
Okay, who's the presenter, please?
Sir, good morning, sir. I am Dr. Rajesh. Sir.
Yeah. So, sir, Dr. Rajesh is there with you. Dr. Hema Kulkarni, madam, unmute your mic, please.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So stop sharing, open your presentation first and then start sharing, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
am I back?
You are heard, sir, but your slides are not seen. If you see, you can run it, sir. Yeah, you slides are seen, sir.
Slides are seen.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
This says here turn off the webcams or ignore or troubleshooting. What are you doing?
No, you just keep on, madam. There is no problem.
Okay.
Sir, go to the next slide, sir.
Okay. It's seen?
No, it's showing the old slide only. Sir, just stop sharing, open your presentation first and then start sharing, sir.
No, I did that actually.
Because it didn't show here, sir.
Kaustubh, he needs to go on a presentation mode. Let him try on a presentation mode.
Sir, Bharat says try on a presentation mode, sir.
Okay.
But I'm not well versed with this max, sir.
Is it same now?
No, sir.
Yeah.
So can Bharat start by the time you sort out your things, sir?
Okay, just give me another 30 seconds, otherwise let Bharat.
Yeah.
Is it showing now?
Not yet, sir.
Now?
No, sir.
Not yet?
No, sir.
Okay, I think you go to Bharat.
Bharat, can you start,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah, I will. Can you make me the presenter?
Yeah, please make Dr. Bharat the presenter, please. And you have Dr. Saurabh Kapad. Saurabh, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Saurabh Kapad. Chalo. So Bharat, Hetan and Saurabh.
Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Is Bharat the
No.
presenter? Agasha, is Bharat the presenter?
Yeah, I am the presenter, but I have not started sharing.
Please start sharing.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir is presenter, sir, now.
Okay. But we are still not seeing your slides. So, Dr. Satyavan Sharma, are you ready? We can switch on to you.
I don't know why the problem is coming,
Anybody can solve this problem?
Because I do on Zoom many times, but this is something
And
which
here
I'm
the
not able
share that is not getting highlighted. The problem is the share the screen is not getting highlighted.
Sir, do you want to email your presentation to someone and we can share it for
Yeah,
you?
can you email the presentation to me, kavaidya@gmail.com? Both of you, and I'll run from here.
No problem.
Okay. Also send your email to me, and just WhatsApp.
kavaidya@gmail.com, sir.
Okay.
My email is open, so I can anytime.
So till we start, do we want to continue asking Saurabh Dharia some questions?
Yeah, you can ask. Yeah.
So if Dr. Thala is here or Dr. Ajit Desai, then they can continue with the last case discussion while we are sorting this.
Yeah, I'm here. I think Ajit is not there, but I'm here.
Saurabh,
there.
are you here?
You want me to share the screen?
I'm here, sir. I'm here, sir.
Can I share the screen? Can I share the screen for the last questions?
I think so.
Yeah, give it to me. Give me the presenter. I'll ask the last questions, on that.
I think Ajit, why don't we answer all the questions that we have been asking and not answering?
Ask him to give the slide. I will answer, but ask him to give the share sharing.
So yeah, give Ajit Desai the presenter mode.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll go back. Okay. Saurabh, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir. I'm here.
Okay. Okay. The second question was about the S2. We were on the differentiating between the A2 and the OS and the S2 split. How do you differentiate between A2 OS and the S2 split?
Sir, when A2 OS split is there, there will be usually loud S1 associated with it, but not with S2 split, sir.
So you're talking.
S1 will be loud associated with A2 OS than S2 split.
We want a positive answer. We don't want because this is not there. That is there.
Yeah, you don't take help of some other things to differentiate between the point which we want to answer you to answer. Okay, before you go, I will give you another question also. How do you assess the severity of mitral stenosis with A2 OS interval and the murmur in atrial fibrillation? What happens to the A2 interval in atrial fibrillation and the murmur in atrial fibrillation?
Okay, I got Bharat's case here up with me.
Okay, then go ahead. I will stop sharing. Is Bharat Sai okay? Kaustubh, are you okay?
Bharat's slides
I'm
okay.
Okay, I'll ask in the meantime, what is the presence of paradoxical split? Presence of a paradoxical split in S2. The absence
Agashe,
of
make me the presenter, please. Agashe, make me the presenter, please.
You are organizer.
I can't do it. Please do it. Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
Can anybody see?
No, not yet.
No, sir.
No.
Not visible.
I don't know what is the problem. I've shared my screen, but
We were seeing,
sorry.
we were seeing a keyboard like thing.
Yeah, I know that much you are seeing, but beyond that,
No. What happens is when you share the screen, you have to click on the share screen, the screen which is shown.
Sir, click on screen. Where
I've clicked on screen, Baba. I have done this on Zoom, but it's still not
There you are.
seeing.
Now click on that.
Click on
There
what?
it is.
Yeah, now it has come.
Just now it had come.
It was attached. Now it is gone.
So now minimize the current screen. It is probably behind there.
Don't stop sharing the screen. Okay.
Is this what you are saying?
Yes.
You are seeing
Go
the
on
screen?
slideshow.
Yes.
Yes, slideshow.
Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay, Bharat, start.
Go on the slideshow.
I've
Go on
got
the
on the
slide.
slideshow.
Also go on the slideshow.
I've got
Okay.
on the
Yeah, okay.
slideshow.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Bharat.
good morning. Who is the presenter?
Good morning, sir. Sir, Saurabh Kapadia.
Saurabh Kapadia.
Yes, Saurabh, this is Bharat and with me is Hetan. So Hetan will take over. Hetan, start.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Saurabh. This is a
Yes.
patient. We are talking about a 36-year-old female, Mrs. Suraj Jaiswal, residence of Mumbai. She is married, having the 2 children, height of 164 and the weight of 54 kg. Next. Yeah. He presented with a history of breathlessness on exertion for last 3 years and easy fatigability for 5 years. So I just need to start from here the discussion. What is the interpretation? How we can go about it? These are the 2 chief complaints about the patient.
So the
Yes,
question is, what is the difference between shortness of breath and fatigability?
Present of easy fatigability.
Yes, ma'am. Shortness of breath correlates with left-sided heart problems mainly, and fatigability could be due to because of low cardiac output situation. So the both of the symptoms are present in this patient since last 5 years. So
My question to you is, if you say fatigability is because of low cardiac output, do you think that patients of low cardiac output move around in the society?
no, sir.
Usually it is a fixed cardiac output, not low cardiac output, it is a fixed cardiac output. So when you walk,
Yes.
when you exercise, the output is not maintained in keeping with the exertion, and that is why you feel fatigued. So fatigability is the symptom of skeletal muscles, whereas shortness of breath is usually because of increased pulmonary artery wedge pressure, whatever the cause on the left side of the heart, or it is because of worsening hypoxemia, as in cases with congenital heart diseases. So when you talk of fatigability, remember that it is almost always associated with fixed output state, like what you discussed in the previous case: hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, presence of aortic stenosis, primary pulmonary hypertension, so on and so forth. Go ahead.
Yes.
Now you heard symptoms are gradually worsening, and now he is remain into class 2 symptoms of anxiety, dyspnea. So will you just categorize for the everybody what is NYHA classification and how you classify?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, New York Heart Association classification divided into 4 stages. It includes 4 symptoms: fatigue, dyspnea, angina, fatigue, dyspnea, angina, and shortness of breath. And it is NYHA class 1 patient with established heart disease. They have no limitation of physical activity. They have no symptoms at rest, and they can perform ordinary physical activity without any discomfort. Class 2 patient with established heart disease who have slight limitation of physical activity. They are asymptomatic at rest. They have this 4 symptoms on doing ordinary physical activity. Class 3 patient with established heart
so
disease.
you know the classification. Now what are the limitations?
Ma'am, there are certain limitations in NYHA classification. First is there is a inter-observer variability. Then secondly, the treatment effect is not included in this. Third, PND and orthopnea are not included in NYHA grading. Then NYHA grading are based on subjective evaluation of the patient symptoms. There are no objective criteria. And lastly,
It can't be reproducible. Yeah.
yes,
Okay, good. Now,
before you proceed, I just wanted to tell you, you cannot drag around this answer. You know, you have to be specific. NYHA class 1, symptomatic on more than routine or more than normal activity. Class 2 on normal or routine activity. Class 3 less than normal or routine, and class 4 at rest. You cannot go around this, that, and all that. You have to be very specific on what you want to define it as. And you are very right that it is a subjective classification and is unlikely to be reproduced. This is the main limitation of New York Heart Association.
Yes.
Now, when you have symptoms which get worsened over a period of time, as it happened in this case, what are the common causes of worsening of symptoms?
Yes, sir. First of all, there could be any infection. Then patient could have progression of the disease. Patient, if is on any treatment, there is non-compliance with the medications. Patient has developed any arrhythmia. Patient has developed any infection like pneumonia or infective endocarditis. Patient has any drugs which are taken for other condition and which precipitate the condition. And patient
can you give me an example? Can you, when you say that you have taken a drug for some other condition and has deteriorated the condition and symptomatology, can you give me an example of such a drug?
Sir, any drug which causes water retention, then any drugs like chemotherapeutic drugs, then patient has any NSAIDs. Patient has on
why NSAID causes worsening of symptoms?
Because of effect on the
it is corticosteroids if you have taken it for something, or if you have taken bronchodilators which cause tachycardia. So these are some of the drugs if you are going to use that as one of your answers for worsening symptoms. But usually common cause of worsening of symptoms is worsening of the disease because of natural history. Anemia is very, very important in our country. Intercurrent infections like gastroenteritis or pneumonia, infective endocarditis and arrhythmias. These are probably the common causes you will see in your practice why the symptoms worsen over a period of time.
Yes, sir.
Her past and the personal history is she had 2 children of 12 and 8 years old. All pregnancy, the delivery was uneventful. There is no significant illness of a major like diabetic, hypertension or coronary artery disease or a thyroid disorder. She is on medication for last 6 months and there is a mild improvement in the symptoms.
My question to you is, can you tell me a few cardiac conditions where conception is an issue?
Yes, sir. First of all, the patient with a Eisenmenger syndrome or severe pulmonary arterial hypertension, they have the pregnancies are contraindicated in them because they have got high maternal as well as
I understand. Before that, I want to know where conception is an issue. Where the ladies will come
severe pulmonary arterial hypertension.
It's a
so
idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension. Yes.
Anything else? So basically, you have to divide this into 2 parts. Common cause of non-conceiving either is because of fixed cardiac output or some form of ischemia of the genitourinary system. And the commonest cause in our country will be something like aortoarteritis or premature atherosclerosis. Aortoarteritis is far commoner. The second, as you said, is because of inadequate cardiac output.
Yes, sir.
Ketan is saying something.
I think Dr. Hema Kulkarni
I was telling a coarctation of aorta. They have they usually amenorrhea also.
Correct. So absolutely. So where there is a fixed output or a low output, like primary pulmonary hypertension, Hypoxemia is another common cause. So Eisenmenger syndrome, all this as a high-risk pregnancy.
Eisenmenger syndrome, severe pulmonary arterial hypertension, severe
Correct.
aortic stenosis, patient
Correct.
having Marfan syndrome with aortic aneurysm, and any other stenotic lesions.
And as Hetan said, coarctation of aorta because of the problems of dissection.
Yes.
And of course, patients who have dilated cardiomyopathies because of associated left ventricular dysfunction. So the stenotic lesions, including mitral stenosis, is a high-risk case. Stenotic lesions, as was said in the previous case, very poorly tolerated. Pulmonary hypertension, very poorly tolerated, whether it is primary, secondary, or whatever. And of course, patients with low output states or a fixed output states are the ones which are poorly tolerated. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Sir, I can see the screen.
Can you see the screen?
I cannot see the screen.
No, it has disappeared.
No.
Has it come?
No.
I have done nothing from here.
Meanwhile, Saurabh, which are the conditions favorable during pregnancy?
Ma'am, regurgitation lesions like MR, AR, they are favorable during pregnancy.
What happens to patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy in pregnancy?
There is a vasodilatation and their SVR.
Screen is visible or not?
No, sir.
There is increased plasma volume. The HCM symptoms improve.
So the obstructive symptoms will depend upon multiple things really. It depends upon three major things. One is the volume, second is the heart rate, and third is the peripheral vascular resistance. So it will be a combination of all three. And very difficult to say with certainty. Some of them will improve because of increased volume, the LV gets dilated and the LVOD obstruction can come down. But because of associated tachycardia and sometimes because of reduced peripheral vascular resistance, this may be countered by these two factors, and patients may actually not improve, or some of them can actually worsen during pregnancy. So the course is quite variable when it comes to hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathies.
Yes, sir.
Is the screen
Yes, sir,
seen?
screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sir, the matter you have to click it again.
Yeah.
So, Saurabh, there is no significant negative history of orthopnea, PND, repeated respiratory tract infections, any syncope, convulsion, or unconsciousness. Sir, again, hemoptysis, palpitation, anasarca, or a rheumatic etiology, and there is no significant positive family history of heart disease, sudden cardiac death, or premature coronary artery.
My question to you is
So, here
that
is
when you ask history of orthopnea, PND, and repeated respiratory tract infections, what are you actually wanting to rule out?
Yes, sir. So orthopnea, PND are associated with any condition which increases pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, or are related to pulmonary venous congestion because of the gives us an indication that pulmonary capillary wedge pressure is not raised, but it does not rule out left-sided heart pathology.
But repeated respiratory tract infection can occur with both pulmonary venous hypertension as well as with left to right shunt.
Muted.
Any person who is 32 to 33 years old, you have to rule out both these things. You have to rule out acquired heart diseases and congenital heart diseases. It's not that they are immune to congenital hearts. When you take a history of syncope, convulsions, and unconsciousness, what are you trying to rule out?
These are the symptoms which can be present in RVOT or as well as LVOT obstruction. So if they are not present, it directs us that there might not be a severe RVOT or LVOT obstruction.
Can you, is this not an important question also from point of view of ruling out arrhythmias?
Yes, sir. Syncope is also important in ruling out arrhythmias.
Basically, these are the symptoms to rule out mechanical causes like outflow tract obstruction, either left ventricular or right ventricular, or arrhythmias, which is an electrical cause of the same symptoms.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me what kind of syncope you are more worried about. Are you worried about syncope at rest, or you are worried about post-exertional syncope?
Sir, we are worried more about the rest syncope.
Rest syncope
because of
rest syncope. Why does it bother you? What is the commonest cause of rest syncope, which is non-exertional? Rest means non-exertional. Let me put it that way.
It could be because of any life-threatening arrhythmias like ventricular tachycardia. So,
that is the commonest cause in your practice when a patient comes to you saying that I have chakkar, or I went to an assembly, a child comes to you, 12-year-old, I went to a school assembly and then fell down there. What is the commonest cause?
It could be assembly, to be heat stroke.
So the commonest cause is vasovagal or neurocardiogenic syncope. So when you have non-exertional syncope, it's more often than not a benign syncope. It is the post-exertional syncope that you are worried about, because post-exertional syncope is usually associated with left ventricular outflow tract obstructions, or is associated with severe right ventricular outflow tract obstruction, or primary pulmonary hypertension. And most of the arrhythmic syncope also, most of them are post-exertional. I mean, I'm not saying you can never get it at rest, but most of them. So you are more worried about post-exertional syncope, not the neurocardiogenic syncope.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when you talk about palpitations, what is the implications? What do you mean when patient complains of palpitations?
There is an abnormal awareness of one's own heartbeat due to change in rate, rhythm, or contractility of the heart. So palpitations could be because of heart failure, could be because of volume overload condition.
I just interrupt. Not only rate, rhythm, but also the volume of the ventricle.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody's mobile is making a noise. Hello? Somebody's mobile or something is making.
Yes, sir.
What is the implication of family history in a case like this, where the patient has presented only with shortness of breath and fatigability?
Sir, shortness of breath and fatigability, we want to rule out any significant history of any sudden cardiac death in the family.
What will it tell you?
It could be because of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Or it could be even because of dilated cardiomyopathies. There are some dilated cardiomyopathies which are known to run in families, although hypertrophic is much more common. Okay.
Yes.
I think in the history, these are the three most important things in today's date and era: details of medications, details of investigations, and details of interventions. So don't forget to ask this history, because this is a very important aspect. So I just put this slide just to complete the history. Ketan, go ahead.
Yes.
Sir, I think we can ask him only from the etiology. What should be this is a young female presented with shortness of breath, fatigability of 5 years duration, and currently she is in NYJ class 2. So what is your differential diagnosis from the history? And there is no other significant positive history.
Yes, ma'am. It could be just because she has tolerated the pregnancies well. It could be rheumatic heart disease because of any and associated with any regurgitation lesion because pregnancies were tolerated well without significant pulmonary arterial hypertension. And it could be because of any pre-tricuspid lesion like ASD, and could be
Why directly ASD as a second differential? There is no. Why congenital heart disease as a second differential?
yes, ma'am. Could be because of any pericardial diseases. Could be because of cardiomyopathies like SCM and dilated cardiomyopathies.
Dilated cardiomyopathy, the patient can have a static symptoms for last years?
No, ma'am. There will be progressive worsening of the condition in dilated cardiomyopathy. And if the LVF is very low, then the survival rate is also low in dilated cardiomyopathy.
So what is your interpretation about the history? Like you said, rheumatic with the regurgitant lesion, it is fine as a first differential. The second differential, you said pre-tricuspid.
Yes.
Why not post-tricuspid?
Ma'am, post-tricuspid, like VSD and PDA would have developed Eisenmengerization by now, and the pregnancies would not have tolerated it with Eisenmengerization.
Anything else? If a small restrictive VSD with the AR or second present with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Here we are giving you the etiology based on the history. pH possibility?
Yes. pH possibility is less, ma'am, because if she has tolerated the pregnancies well, then it comes down on the list. But still, we can consider.
Can she not develop pulmonary hypertension after pregnancy?
Yes.
I mean, are you immune to developing pulmonary hypertension at a particular age?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
So you can develop pulmonary hypertension. We don't exactly understand the etiology of pulmonary hypertension. Some of them present in their mid-30s. It is more likely in younger individuals. Doesn't mean that there is any age which is immune to pulmonary hypertension. Especially when you have a patient who complains of shortness of breath and easy fatigability, a young lady, pulmonary hypertension should be considered as one of the important etiologies. And so is the cardiomyopathy. Just because she has tolerated pregnancies, she can decompensate at a later stage for various reasons.
Or she can present with the peripartum phase of cardiomyopathy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And it may worsen because of anemia and all.
Absolutely. Yes.
The premature coronary artery disease, can it be possible?
Yes, ma'am. It could be possible.
What about hypertensive heart disease?
Yes, sir. They are possible.
So what is the commonest cause of hypertension? What is the commonest cause of hypertension in a 36-year-old lady?
So secondary hypertension could be more.
Secondary is the commonest. Secondary is the commonest.
No, sir. Essential hypertension is the most.
Essential. And what is the next common?
The secondary hypertension causes.
Like what in a 36-year-old? What is the secondary hypertension?
Could be because of renal artery stenosis.
Why not pregnancy-induced hypertension?
Yes, sir. Could be pregnancy-induced hypertension also. Sequelae of
because renal artery stenosis, coarctation, aortoarteritis would have had some presentation earlier during pregnancy somewhere. But if she was not diagnosed to have, pregnancy can cause hypertension, which can sometimes can remain with the patient for a longer period of time, evolving into a left ventricular dysfunction and this kind of presentation. And of course, then congenital heart diseases.
Yes.
So which are the acyanotic congenital heart disease which can present like this at this age?
Last 20 minutes.
Sir, ASD could be because of ASD.
How often the patient of ASD complains of class 2 to class 3 symptoms and easy fatigability?
Sir, most of the time they are asymptomatically detected. So this presence of symptoms occurs late in.
So when A3 becomes symptomatic?
Patient becomes symptomatic if they develop any arrhythmias like atrial arrhythmias, or patient can develop symptoms if they develop severe pulmonary arterial hypertension, or yes.
My mic is on or off?
Okay.
On,
On,
we
sir,
can
on.
hear you, Bharat.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are hearing you.
Okay, so very true that they can become symptomatic. 30s is a little too early for atrial arrhythmias. Atrial arrhythmias usually occur in the 5th or the 6th decade. But presence of pulmonary hypertension is one of the things that can complicate matters in mid-30s. And the other thing that can complicate matters in mid-30s is a Lutem-Basher. So if you have a mitral valve disease with atrial septal defect, mitral valve disease may not be all that severe. So she is able to tolerate those pregnancies, but as things progress and as mitral valve disease gets progressive, you can have patients becoming symptomatic at this age. What about common acyanotic heart diseases presenting in their mid-30s? I mean, common cyanotic congenital heart diseases.
Sorry, in could be Epstein anomaly, which could present late.
Perfect. What else?
Could be cyanotic heart disease like pulmonary fistula, which can present late.
But commonest, yeah. Tetralogy of Fallot. If I ask you what are the 10 common causes of cyanosis in mid-30s, it is tetralogy, apart from Eisenmenger. I'm talking about pulmonary stenosis. That is the commonest cause here. I agree with you. Epstein anomaly can present, ASD with pulmonary stenosis can present, Gussulized VSD can present. But the commonest cause still is tetralogy of Fallot. Once in a while you will see tricuspid atresia, once in a while truncus, but they are not common.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or it could be a pulmonary pathology also, right?
Yes.
Okay. So on examination, she had a 90 per minute the pulse rate. It is regular in rhythm. All peripheral pulses are for good volume and the tension. There is no inequality of the pulse and no radiofemoral delay. Her right upper limb and the lower limb BP are 126/84 and 134/90 millimeter of mercury.
Which are the arteries where you estimate or characterize the pulse character? Which arteries you feel for pulse character?
Yes. The carotid arteries.
Perfect.
And,
is there
brachial
any
artery.
brachial artery for what?
Brachial artery for pulses disference.
Why? Carotid is not good enough for bispherians.
So carotid also. Carotid is the.
As a matter of fact, apart from collapsing pulse, all pulse characteristics are seen in carotid or central arteries, excepting the runoff, which is well appreciated in the peripheral like brachial or radial, at least from my point of view, because this question was also asked by Ajit in the morning, but that is what I thought was the thing. And one question was asked as to what are the causes of radiofemoral delay.
Yes, sir.
What are the causes of radiofemoral delay?
Sir, coarctation of aorta, then Takayasu arteritis involving aorta.
And in elderly, of course, atherosclerosis.
Yes.
Okay.
There is no pallor, no cyanosis, no clubbing, and no lymphadenopathy. JVP is not elevated. A wave is prominent.
What does that mean? A wave is prominent. What does that mean? Is it normal or abnormal?
Sir, it is abnormal, sir.
What is the normal A and V wave relationship in JVP? A is the dominant wave or V is the dominant wave?
Sir, right atrium, the A wave is than the V wave, while the left sided the V wave is more prominent.
So what is the abnormally prominent A wave?
Sir, abnormal.
Excuse me, somebody is speaking, please.
कसं कमी सांगावं ती काय म्हणते तो पण माणसं गव्हा लागलं तर कामावर काम
Yes, sir. Hello. Hello.
Bharat or Hetal, you can ask questions, no?
Okay. Now, sir, next. Next slide. Sir, can we move to next slide? Yeah. On cardiovascular system examination, the pulsations are visible on second in left intercostal space, and parasternal pulsations are visible. The apex bit is in the fifth intercostal space, diffuse in character, and co-inflamed with the parasternal pulsations. The parasternal beat, but no thrill. On auscultation, the first heart sound is normal. The second heart sound, the E2 and P2 both are fixed, split, and with the loud P2. And there is a presence of 3/6 ejection systolic murmur in the left, second and third intercostal. In the apex, we are hearing grade 2/6 mid diastolic murmur.
Yes.
Sir, next slide. Other system, there is no significant positive finding. The chest is clear and liver screens are not palpable. Next. Saturation at rest is 94 and goes down to 92 after exertion. So here is the lady with symptoms. So what is your diagnosis?
Yes, ma'am. So on general examination, patient has no arrhythmia, pulse was regular, and the JVP was not raised. She has only A wave prominent. Then apex beat usually tells us that it is a diffuse apex, most likely an RV kind of apex. It correlates with parasternal heave also. And we have a second heart sound which is fixed and wide, with a loud second component.
With a loud beat.
Yes, loud. And we have an ejection systolic murmur and a mid diastolic murmur. So with a wide and fixed split S2, looks to be a pre-tricuspid lesion, mostly an atrial septal defect.
But your diagnosis won't end just with the ASD, na? You have to complete your diagnosis, na?
Yes, ma'am. So congenital heart disease, acyanotic, pre-tricuspid lesion, mostly atrial septal defect with no features suggestive of any infective endocarditis, heart failure, or with moderate PAH.
But ASD of what
in
size?
sinus.
What would be the size of ASD on examination? And is there any evidence of pH?
Ma'am, no feature. Only the loud P2 is there, which can be present in a patient with PH also in ASD.
Pardon?
No feature.
Can ASD have? Huh?
Parasternal heat
No
is
feature,
there.
but A wave is prominent. Are we expecting A wave prominent in ASD?
No, ma'am. We are not expecting.
Loud P2 is also one of the features. So there must be some evidence of. And how come the saturation goes down? And the ASD patient usually is asymptomatic. Here the lady had presented with class 2 dyspnea. So there must be some evidence of pH in her case.
Yes,
right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, right.
Okay. Sir, any question from your side?
Yes, ma'am.
Dalvi there? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, last what
Read
you
the
asked.
X-ray.
I'm not.
Sir,
Yes,
mute.
Yeah, I'm
Sir,
just
mic
asking
is
Bharat Dalvi sir to, is there any question from inside?
Sir's mic is mute, madam.
Okay, read the X-ray.
Yes, ma'am. Chest X-ray, PA view with
Unmute, sir, please.
chest X-ray PA view with situs solitus levocardia and with normal rotation with no rotation with normal orientation with well exposed film. Could be overexposed film because spines are down. Spines are also visible. There is cardiomegaly with CT ratio of 60, and there are features of right atrial enlargement. There is pulmonary left pulmonary artery dilatation, right pulmonary artery dilatation, and there is looks to be an RV contour, and with features
So
suggestive
does
of
it fit
pulmonary
into
venous
your
congestion.
diagnosis?
Yes, ma'am. But the pulmonary venous congestion is also present.
Venous or arterial? See, how will you diagnose a pulmonary arterial hypertension on chest X-ray?
Ma'am, there will be pulmonary artery dilatation in right pulmonary artery dilatation in male will be more than 15 and female more than 14, and there could be the peripheral vessels will not be visible. And
here you can see the descending limb of the right RPA, which is quite prominent, and you have to compare the size of the trachea. Here you can say there is significant increase in the size of the descending limb of RPA. This is again one of the important evidence of having the increased pulmonary blood flow.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am. Pulmonary arterial hypertension.
Sir, any question from your side? Madam, you can ask the question.
Ma'am, sir is muted. Yeah,
Hello?
he's unable to.
Hello?
Yes.
What are the
Yes, madam, we can
pre-tricuspid
hear you.
shunts? What are the pre-tricuspid shunts when you said? Is it only ASD?
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. It would be TAPVC and could be PAPVC and could be endocardial cushion defect.
Endocardial cushion defect. Which is a right-sided or left-sided?
It's a left side.
Okay.
What about LVRA shunt?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
This is Dr. Ajit Desai.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
What about Garbodi's defect?
Yes, sir. It is a shunt.
It is a tricuspid
from
RP to
LV to RA.
LV to RA. So it's a pre-tricuspid shunt or a post-tricuspid shunt?
It's a pre-tricuspid.
Pre-tricuspid shunt. Okay, as far as the X-ray is concerned, with the right pulmonary artery being so judged, are you in a position to judge what is the pulmonary artery pressure from the pulmonary artery size? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Can you suggest how, is there a way in which you determine how much is the pulmonary artery pressure from the X-ray chest?
No, sir.
You know or you don't know? Anything to do with the right pulmonary artery diameter, and then how do you judge what is the pulmonary artery pressure?
I'm not aware.
Okay, Saurav, tell us what are the structures which make the left border of the heart cardiac silhouette?
Yes, sir. Sir, aortic
From
knuckle.
top to bottom. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Aortic knuckle, then pulmonary artery, then LA appendage, and then the right ventricle.
Then the right ventricle or the left ventricle? Does the right ventricle come into play for the left side, or the right ventricle or the left ventricle?
Sir, left ventricle, right ventricle, sir.
Either of the two, no? Right or left? It has to be right or left. What is it? Left or right?
It is left ventricle.
It is the left ventricle, no? Correct, no?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, because I will just go on to Bharat's side. Which situation you will not get?
Questions. I heard Ajit's question, which is important from radiological point of view. How do you make out that there is pulmonary hypertension and pulmonary vascular disease? So he asked you a question, does right pulmonary artery dimensions have been correlated with pulmonary artery pressures?
Yes, sir.
And there have been some numbers, some 17 millimeters or 19 millimeters suggestive of pulmonary artery pressure mean of more than 50. Yeah. But these are given in standard radiology books. So you must know something about it, not the whole of it. And the vascular disease is by looking at the vascularity in the lateral 1/3 of the lung fields. That gives you a good idea whether there is a vascular disease or not. And some people have actually gone ahead and done the ratio of the central pulmonary artery with the pulmonary arteries in the lateral third. And if the ratio is more than 7:1, then it is suggestive of a vascular disease. And if it is less than 6:1, is suggestive of plethoric lung fields.
Yes.
So, Saurabh, one question. What situation of the left atrial silhouette, left ventricle, I mean the cardiac silhouette left side, the left atrial appendage will be absent? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear me? Is there any
Yes, sir,
situation that you will not get the left atrial appendage there?
In post procedure, if they have done a MACE procedure.
What has MACE procedure got to do with the absence of the left atrial appendage? Is there any congenital heart where there is the left atrium will not be there? Appendage? In a child? What about the juxtaposition?
Juxtapose the left atrial
You have talked, you know about the juxtaposition of the atrial appendage?
Juxtapose.
Yes.
What are the findings you get in the... Sorry, Bharat, go ahead.
No, my only question was, since we were at juxtaposition, what is a common condition associated with juxtaposition? Which congenital heart diseases are associated with juxtaposition of atrial appendages?
Not aware.
The commonest condition is DORV and transposition. These are common. Tricuspid atresia also can be. And also to remember, when in a setting up of DORV and transposition, you find the right ventricle to be a little hypoplastic. Normally, right ventricle is very dominant in these conditions. You must think of juxtaposition of the atrial appendages. And just as a corollary to what Ajit asked you, whether left juxtaposition of the appendages is common or right juxtaposition of the atrial appendages is common?
So left juxtaposition.
The ratio is almost 9:1, right? Juxtaposition of atrial appendages is extremely uncommon. Very true.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ajit.
Read the ECG.
Yes, ma'am. It is a 12-lead ECG with normal standardization, with normal sinus rhythm, with heart rate of around 100 to 90. Then it is a right axis deviation, and there is R wave prominent in V1.
What is the axis?
Sir, more it is a right towards the right side, sir.
What is the axis? How much is the axis rather?
Be more than 110.
Okay.
The R wave is prominent in V1 and with the T wave inversion suggestive of RV pressure overload.
T wave inversion up to lead V3, is it normal or abnormal?
Sir, abnormal.
Up to V3 is abnormal. What is the persistence of juvenile pattern?
Sir, when there is a R wave with R wave prominent and
juvenile pattern of the T wave. I am not talking about the R wave. Persistence of juvenile pattern of the T wave.
Yes, sir. T wave inversion will be there from V1 to V4.
Up to V3.
Up to V.
The real abnormality, and you can start calling as a RV strain only when the T wave inversion extends beyond V3 or V4. Up to V3, T wave inversion is not considered as abnormal from point of view of RV strain, but maybe in that background you can look at it. But otherwise, up to V3 is okay.
Yes, sir.
When do you get an abnormal rhythm in atrial septal defect?
When there is atrial fibrillation or any other atrial arrhythmias.
No, I'm asking you about the rhythm. Means it is not a normal sinus rhythm. There is no arrhythmia. It's a low atrial rhythm. Let me put it point blank. Which ASD is commonly associated with low atrial rhythm? Sinus venosus ASD is commonly associated with low atrial rhythm. If you see a patient of ASD with leftward axis, what does it tell you?
Sir, it is present in ostium primum, and it could be associated atrioventricular septal defect.
If you have a patient of ASD with prolonged PR interval, what does it tell you?
Sir, most likely it is a ostium primum type of defect.
Why? Prolonged PR interval is not a characteristic of ostium primum ASD.
Yes.
You can have with large ASDs because of dilated right atrium, but have you heard of an entity of ASD with prolonged PR where there is an increased incidence of sudden cardiac death in families? It has a very significant prognostic implication. You have to look at the PR interval. There are some families with these things who have propensity to sudden cardiac death. They haven't understood the exact mechanism, but some underlying channelopathy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next.
I can't see the slides. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. I can't see the slides. I don't know who has the control.
We are just logging in it.
Okay.
What this, sir? Yes.
Bharat.
Yeah.
In the meantime, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
In the presence of tall R, can you have a juvenile pattern?
Can you have?
Juvenile pattern.
I mean, you can have to call it a right ventricular strain. Most of the books will write that it has to extend beyond the beyond lead V3.
Because this R wave is very prominent.
Yeah, it is prominent, and definitely that's why I said that occasionally you may have to take a call based on other clinical features. But electrocardiographically, if you want to call it a RV strain, most of the books will write that the two-wave inversion should extend beyond V3 with monophasic R wave in V1 to call it as RV strain, where you can think in terms of systemic or suprasystemic RV pressures.
And till what age do you have a juvenile pattern?
And usually when you get RV strain on ECG, the other implication is that these are the patients with intact interventricular septum. You will never have a T-wave inversion going into V4, V5, V6 in patients with tetralogy of Fallot unless the VSD decides to become restrictive for some reason or the other.
No, what I'm asking you is till what age the juvenile pattern can persist?
There is something called a persistence of juvenile pattern which can go into adulthood and probably even in little older age group as well, in 30s and 40s. So if you don't have an associated history of coronary artery disease or anything to explain T-wave inversion, one of the differentials will remain as persistence of juvenile pattern. So T-wave inversion up to V3 should not be considered abnormal unless proved otherwise.
Thank you.
But 20s to 30s is definitely not uncommon.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Slide.
It is a PowerPoint. I sent PowerPoint to both of you.
Bharat, why don't you ask a question to Saurabh?
What would be the echo finding of this patient?
Is Saurabh there?
Okay, let me try.
Saurabh, can you hear us? Hello?
Okay, those who can hear, basically in a case like this, usually you will find that the right atrium and right ventricle will be volume and pressure overloaded. There will be some element of tricuspid regurgitation. Most of these patients will have mild or more than mild tricuspid regurgitation. And the pulmonary artery pressure, as was in this case, a systolic pressure was around 100 to 110 millimeters of mercury. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there is a little difference between a pre-tricuspid shunt and post-tricuspid shunt when it comes to presence of pulmonary hypertension. Hypertension in a post-tricuspid shunt almost always means that there will be a bidirectional or reversibility of the shunt. That is not the case in presence of pulmonary hypertension with pre-tricuspid shunts when I'm talking about this in adolescents and adults. Because unless the right ventricular systolic and or diastolic dysfunction sets in, the shunt doesn't reverse. And the reason is ASD is predominantly a diastolic shunt, whereas VSD and TDA are usually systolic or continuous shunts.
Hello.
And that is why absence of cyanosis doesn't rule out irreversible pulmonary vascular disease in patients with ASD.
I see my screen. My presentation is open. The moment I put on it, it just, the screen goes off. Okay, so I'll have to go off. Okay. Okay, let me try. Thank you.
Can I complete?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The other thing I wanted to tell you, especially the postgraduates, is that in presence of ASD, sometimes patient can get desaturated without there being a evidence of irreversible pulmonary vascular disease because of presence of tricuspid regurgitation. The tricuspid regurgitation jet can flow across the ASD into the left side, and patient can get desaturated. May not have cyanosis, but we have seen saturation to the tune of low 90s or high 80s without there being evidence of pulmonary vascular disease. So that is what I want to be reinforced, that absence of cyanosis doesn't rule out irreversible pulmonary vascular disease, and presence of cyanosis does not almost always mean more than cyanosis. Let me put it as desaturation does not always mean that there is a irreversible vascular disease, unlike in a VSD or a PDA, where it is more or less synonymous.
Now, in this case, you had 96 saturation dropping to 92.
92.
Yeah. So what does it mean?
This usually means that the pulmonary vascular disease is probably advanced, and that is why with exertion you are not getting increased cardiac output, and in presence of and there is no drop in pulmonary vascular resistance. So even the pulmonary vascular resistance is fixed, and that is why there is some amount of reversal of the shunt. So usually any desaturation in a post-exertional state tells you that the pulmonary vascular disease is advanced. I mean, regarding reversibility, nobody can put his hand on his chest and say that this is reversible and this is not. But if there is a desaturation going below 90 post-exercise, the chances of that pulmonary vascular disease being reversible are small.
So here, sir, there is a role of right heart cath before we plan anything.
Absolutely. There is a role of baseline parameters. There is a role of post-oxygen sildenafil, those who have nitric oxide, and there is a role of temporary balloon occlusion. If the clinical picture, the ECG, the X-ray, and the cath data are supportive of predominantly left to right shunt and reversibility of vascular disease, you should go ahead and close the ASD. If there is the data is not supporting reversibility at all, it is better to leave the ASD open as a pop-off. And if the case is truly borderline, you might consider closing this defect either with a fenestrated device or a fenestrated patch, so that you leave behind a pop-off in case the pulmonary hypertension decides to misbehave after closure of ASD. So these are the implications, and these are very important implications from management point of view. Because if you close a ASD with an irreversible vascular disease, you will end up with a PPH-like syndrome, which has a very bad prognosis, much worse than Eisenmeyer's. And if you don't close a ASD with a reversible vascular disease, then you will actually deprive that person of improved quality of life, and in some cases, even improved longevity. And that is why all these parameters need to be looked at very carefully. Don't go only by cath number. Oh, 8 Wood units, inoperable. Don't do like that. You have to interpret the cath data in the background of the clinical picture, and also cath data at baseline with pulmonary vasodilators and with temporary balloon occlusion.
And so one question is, like, sometimes we see young female with development of idiopathic pulmonary hypertension also at a representation at this age, and the size of ASD and PH disproportionate. So in that case, how we can figure out, like,
So I get your question, Hetan. I will tell you, if you have a ASD which is less than 20 millimeters with a PA pressure which is systemic or more than systemic, in my opinion, this is a ASD which is an innocent bystander with a primary pulmonary vasculopathy. You will ask me, do you have any data? We don't have a data to prove, because unless you close every ASD, you will never be able to prove this kind of
Parag is on. Parag is on. Let's start the case. And whoever is the presenter for Parag, please, who's the presenter for Parag?
Okay, Saurabh, thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you, sir.
Who is presenter for Parag? Hello, Dr. Oswal, Amit Oswal, is he there? Hello. Dr. Amit Oswal, is he there?
सर ऐका ना मी एक
Hello.
Hello.
Is Dr. Amit Oswal there?